house in San Diego. And that was the first day I saw either of them. From then on it moved. But I was getting some things ready, and I thought, there's not a eulogy here. There's three or four. There's Betty, the warrior standing behind her man. There is Dutch. And I'm not going to say the full name Dutch. And there's Duchess, and then there's the friendship and funship that we had together for so many years. You know, when Sandy was born, you were staying with us. You and I were staying together. No, your mother. You look just like her. Anyway, Sandy was born, and Betty wanted to name her Sandra Lee, L-E-E. And the priest said, no, that's not a saint's name. You can't use that. But they let her say Sandra Lee, L-E-I-G-H. And I think that's a beautiful spelling. Well, the ships came and went, and Dutch received many honors and worked hard 24 hours a day for the military, with Betty standing right behind him, doing all the typing and tabbing and everything that had to go on, just to show some of you younger people the things that military assignments that Dutch put himself through in his retirement years. He was a member of the veteran of foreign wars, American Legion branch, the AMVETS, the Disabled Veterans, Fleet Reserve Association, National Association of Atomic Veterans, and the Retired Enlisted Association. He was also the coordinator of this park. They lived in Hemet, and he helped and was here every day helping plan this park. And I think that's pretty wonderful. So he was a member of the National Guard Cemetery here, and the Riverside National Support, and the Riverside County Veterans Advisory Committee before he got a little weak and they decided to go back to being here. Sandy, you could take care of him. That's good. We taught you well. I couldn't think of a whole lot of things I wanted to share with Betty. I'll do it when I share the two of them. But I want you to close your eyes when I start reading and think about Betty. And I thought about her as the warrior standing behind her man, the forgotten person in the entire build-up for the Cold War. So she was very instrumental in Dutch's success. All right, you close your eyes and think of a picture of Betty that you knew, and think of this, her voice coming to you. I never wore the uniform, no medals on my chest. The band, it doesn't play for me. I do not rate a salute. I stand among the silent ones, our devotion absolute. But if you haven't worn my shoes, you do not know my story. I live a little day, a life of sacrifice. My reward is a private glory. I've wept many nights away, and I've kept the home fires burning. I've worried and I've waited as world events kept churning. Where I've moved more times than you can fathom, and left more people than you've ever known. I've planted gardens around the world, none I see grown. And when a ship or a plane was down, or a man, and all I had was prayers. I'm not asking for your sympathy, just a little appreciation to that generation. I did it quite on purpose. Are you still seeing Betty's face? I did it quite on purpose, though. I chose to sacrifice. But I'll tell you a secret now, one you'll never guess, about the one glory that is mine. It's just enough, no more, no less. About the glory that is mine, you and I stand together and the national anthem plays, I'm filled with reminiscences of how I spent those days. I'll know the pain and the joys again, and I'll know that freedom certainly isn't free. I've known, I've helped. I'll know that I have helped to pay the price, and that anthem plays for me. And I think that pretty well describes her life. She was behind Dutch in everything he wanted to do. So that's like one half a Betty and half a Dutch. And we had, now I was very young. I forgot something, so backtrack with me a little bit. Sandy and Michael, I thank you for letting me do this. And I want you to know, I don't want to see a tear today. Not one tear from either of you, because how old are you? You're past 60, and you had your parents. What more could you ask that they take care of them? No tears. No tears. So that's two sort of hard. But our funship and friendship goes way back. When they were just young sailors on the when the first group came back from the Marianas, they had to take the ship to Hunters Point in San Francisco. Dutch and my husband made $142 a month. Wow, were we lucky? And we had government housing, which was $35. And if we chose to go to Hunters Point to be 3 months with them up there, we had to figure out a way to keep our apartment in San Diego and pay for one in Hunters Point. So we dug deep and ate a lot of soup. Okay. But the day we were leaving Hunters Point to go back to San Diego, Dutch had a small car. No, he had a medium-sized car. So did we. And we were going to travel in tandem from San Francisco down to San Diego. So we were not quite, we had a year and a half old, so we weren't quite as packed as rapidly as they were. And so they took off, and we knew the road we were taking. And it was, I think, 101 at that time was the closest. And so we left 6 or 7 minutes later in our car with a trunk in the back and the baby in the seat, and packed, we thought, to the gills. We got 20 miles away from Hunters Point, and here's Betty and Dutch at the side of the road. Their car broke down. So we transferred everything from their car back into ours, called a tow truck or whatever we did. I think maybe he called one of the fellows on the ship, and they got the Dutch's car in storage until the end of it. And that's one story. We crowded into there were 4 adults, all our stuff. And when you make fun of my stuff, just remember it's all memories for me. And my stuff gives me wonderful memories. But about 5 miles from my mother-in-law's home, Tony's mother, our car broke down. So we towed it into his mother's. She spread quilts on the floor, and Betty and Dutch and Tony and I and the baby all slept on the floor the rest of the night. But that's that one. But I think you guys that know a little bit about mechanics will appreciate this one. We had, in the military with Navy, they're after World War II, they start putting them on the bases. Before that, they didn't have them on the bases. And so we have to go on a list. And we were all close to the list. So we got down to San Diego, and the ship was in about 3 months then. And our name came up on the permanent housing list. So I was out of a Quonset hut. You ever lived in a Quonset hut? It's good living if you're with someone you love. But we were going out of the Quonset into permanent housing. Oh boy, none of us had a car that could move everything. they decided to pool their money, and we still didn't have enough with 4 men. Betty, or Dutch and Tony and Bill and Dave, their neighbors there in San Diego. So they got together, they still didn't have enough money. So the 4 men walked over a block and say, we want to rent that trailer. Well, back your truck up here. The truck's right here. And they each grabbed a different part of that trailer, pulled it over to our house, up in front of the door, loaded it, took it, pulled it over to our permanent store, our permanent home, and then they took it back. Then we had hamburgers and beer. Wow, what more did you ask about life? I'm hearing you. I'll tell you some more about it. And you know what? We had many good times, especially where is she, Annie? Oh, look right behind me. When Annie was born, the phone rang. Elaine, we've got another little girl, and you should see her. She's beautiful. And the first thing they ever asked was, how's Annie? Where's Annie? What's she doing? And Betty always told us the right story. They didn't ignore the rest of you. It's just that that little girl came in later life for them, and they were so happy. So, I have 1 or 2 other things I wanted to share. You know what? When Dutch and Betty stood in front of that courthouse and we walked up to them, I said, oh my God, he's good looking. His eyes were as blue as your sweater back there. They just danced on, and he looked at Betty with his whole heart, just bouncing. So, and she was very, very pretty. We went in and they got married. But you know what the grandma said? They kept, Betty would take our daughter, Jane, and she'd take her for a walk in the stroller. But your great-grandmother now, anyway, Betty's mother said, until you get married in the church, you will not get pregnant. I'll guarantee that. So, phone rings. Elaine, can you guys be there next Tuesday? What's up? Well, Dutch and I want to get married. I said, Betty, I thought we went through that. She said, oh no, we have to get married in the church. So we made arrangements. So I can always say, I stood up for them both times they got married. So that was it. And the 4 of us, if you make a triangle, we were together and shared a whole lot of things. So Dutch and Betty and Tony, now they make a triangle. They're up there trying to get me, and I'm not ready to go. I refuse it. So, but do we have time for a song?
Yes.
Betty one time said, you know, the prettiest song I heard in church the other day was, Let There Be Peace on Earth. And I'm not sure of all the words, but I'm sure some of you do. Okay? Can we stand up and hold hands and sing, Let There Be